Hi, my name is Joseph Arnold, and today I'm going to talk to you about why drilling your exercises is not going to lead to the results that you want. And instead, it's going to result to you becoming a more fragile and tight performer instead of a more resilient, effortless kind of performer. So, again, my name is Joseph Arnold. I'm a violinist, an Alexander Technique teacher, and co-founder of the Soulforce Arts Academy. And I'll tell you more about that a little later on. But we'll get right down to the subject of today, which is drilling your exercises. So this is a really common idea, right? And this is what we learn from our teachers. You go to a conservatory maybe for whatever it is that you do, and you learn all these exercises and scales, and maybe your different sections of these challenging pieces that you're working on, and especially the most challenging sections. You're just really focusing on those little parts and practicing the hell out of them, and it feels like a lot of work maybe. And we call it drilling because there's that sense of like getting tighter and tighter and more forceful as you practice it. And it also comes from military culture, the idea of doing drills. And let's just take that in for a moment. The idea of drilling comes from the military. And is that really the kind of ethos that you want in your artistic practice? Probably not. So what happens is that how you think about practicing, even the words that you use, gets mirrored in your body and in the output, like the actual results of your practicing. And so let's take a couple of different ideas. For instance, when you take the idea in that you're going to be drilling this piece, you can even, whatever it is that you do, music or dance or acting, whatever it is that you do, you have a section that you're going to drill. Just close your eyes and imagine doing that. What happens in your body? Do you get tighter or freer? Really getting in there and practicing it hard, trying your hardest. Drilled it, do it again. Faster. Gotta get it right. What happens in your body when you think about all that? When you take in those thoughts? Gotta get it right, gotta do it fast. I get tighter. What happens to your scope of attention? So it's possible to have a very open sort of field of attention, being able to notice lots of things in the periphery as well as what you're doing. And it's also possible to have your blinders on. Very pinpoint, narrow focus. That has an effect on your body too. So when you're like really drilling something, like what happens to your sense of space? Do you get smaller or bigger? Just notice. So I find that this idea of drilling carries along certain connotations that become embodied. You get a smaller field of attention, get very pinpoint focused. Your body is going to get really tight when you're doing this. When you have a pinpoint focus and you're doing something really difficult, that's what it's going to look like. I used to play violin like this, I know. And that's when injuries happen. And it's also when actual artistic, creative expression stops happening, because muscular tension interferes with every aspect of performing, including having any kind of emotional connection. So what is an alternative to drilling? I like the holographic approach to practicing. A holograph is a kind of image, right? Where it can be like a three-dimensional image created with lasers and mirrors and that kind of thing. And one of the most interesting things about holographic images is that you can, if you take away part of the reference image that gets reflected, it's the reflection still is a representation of the whole image. So even if you damage the reflection, the original reference image, the end product, it becomes a little more fuzzy perhaps, but it's still there as a whole. And so there's something about the connection of parts to the whole, which I really find quite compelling about holographs. And I realize as I'm saying this, it might not be so clear, like what the connection is between a holographic image and practicing is, but I'll run you through it. It's a very powerful way of practicing. So let's say you have, just for the sake of simplicity, I'm a musician, so I'll use an example in music, but if you're not a musician, you can use this in your own ways. You can so let's say you're practicing a difficult passage, and you come to this spot that just always trips you up, and instead of drilling it, here's what we're going to do. Going to take that spot, let's say it's one measure, and you name all the notes in that measure from lowest to highest. You make a little scale of all those notes, like that particular note set. Let's say G, E, F, A flat, C. All right? So instead we'd start maybe E, G, E, F, G, A flat, C. So going lowest to highest, and then you go back down to lowest, and then you start improvising with those notes. You have fun. It is called playing music, after all, not working music. And you have fun with those notes, okay? And if there's a rhythm in that measure, then you might throw that rhythm into your improvisations. And if you're not used to improvisation, well, now's the time. It doesn't have to be creative or original. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be good. Just let go of that. We're just playing around with the notes. Simple. If you can make it into little musical phrases, something that actually sounds like a melody, that's great. So we're playing with these notes in various ways, maybe adding rhythm, maybe do it as a tango, maybe do it as a waltz. Play around with it. Do what actually feels good to you. That's really important. And that's really the key to getting away from the drawbacks of drilling, is for it to actually feel good. Imagine practicing actually feeling good to you instead of, maybe mildly stressful. So then, once you've done this a bunch of different ways, you've done the notes upside down and backwards and every single way possible, then you play it front ways. You play it as written. And 9 times out of 10, when I do this with even my very young students, it's like, they get it. This can work with sight reading too. I guess it's not exactly sight reading, but even when learning something for the first time, just don't even bother playing it front ways. Yeah, just improvise. Excuse me. And when you think about improv, when you think about playing, let's say, if you actually let yourself play, what does that feel like in your body? Maybe you can close your eyes and remember, it can be hard for some adults to remember what it's like to really play. and not even like a video game kind of play, but something where there's no particular endpoint, just like you did when you were little. Just playing around and exploring and just trying different things and having some fun while you're doing that. What does that feel like in your body? Do you get tighter or freer? Does your sense of space get bigger or smaller? I notice that both my sense of space gets bigger and my body gets freer. And that's going to carry into your performance. Right? You want that. You really want that. You want your sense of space to be big. You want your body to be free. You want to have a sense of play and lightness. That will help your expressivity as well. You might notice, like when you have that sense of play, how easy is it to tap into a sense of creativity? It's pretty easy. As opposed to drilling, where there really isn't any creativity present. It's more like skill acquisition, which just isn't any fun. It's not the point of music and art. Yeah. So holographic, meaning it's called I call it holographic practicing, meaning that we have this sort of superposition of many different possible ways of playing this passage that you then carry with you. And then, playing as it's written is just like one of these many possibilities that you already feel confident with. And it doesn't have this sort of narrow, drilling kind of quality. So I encourage you to practice it and get back to me. Let me know if that works for you, what happens for you. And, I'm really curious about artists who aren't musicians. How does this work in your artistic practice? I haven't worked with so many people outside of music. So, yeah, let me know. Let me know what happens. Reach out to me, direct message, or comment on this video. Okay. So I hope that's helpful. Please give this video a like or follow me on whatever platform you find this on. You can sign up for my email list through my website, josepharnold.com, and I'll send out occasional emails with some videos or blog posts, that kind of thing. And I'm writing a book. So it's all about this kind of thing, this kind of approach to arts, where you end up feeling more alive, more connected, as opposed to more stressed, more anxious, more tight. I call it Soulforce, performance arts, redefining artistic performance, practice, and pedagogy in a world that's lost its mind. So if you sign up for the email list, you'll be among the first to know when that's ready. It'll probably be ready maybe by next summer. So summer 2022. Okay, that's all for now. See you next time.